And I was doing this meeting. I didn't know this for some time, but that night, when I gave a word about God healing people of metal, this woman who arrived in a wheelchair with MS and couldn't walk, her husband elbowed her and said, "You got metal and you got a pain pump," because she also had severe pain from 4 herniated discs in her lumbar, and the pain was so bad, and she had problems with the bladder, with having to get to the bathroom several times, and if the bladder began to fill, it's just jabbing pain. She had that disease as well, but she is a teacher, and she had to lose her job because the MS was affecting her cognitive abilities, and she's also severely depressed. And when she came in, somebody said to her, "God's going to heal you tonight." And somebody, a lay person. And she said, "Well, that's wonderful. I wished I had that kind of faith," because she'd been prayed for hundreds of times and never had been healed. But when I went for the metal, she said, "I don't have metal in my body." I said, "Yes, you do. You have that pain pump. Stand up." Well, she can't stand, but she tries to stand. And once she can't, twice she can't. She keeps trying to stand. All of a sudden, she feels electricity come on her body, go into her legs, go through her body. She tries to stand up. She can stand up, and all of her pain stopped. And she's now she's come up and running across the thing. Now she gets healed. Now, what I didn't know was what else happened that night, and that happened to Kevin, and that's his story. And I want him to tell it, and then some of what you've been seeing. And I'll just jump ahead. You tell that part. But he became a pastor, and now he's given up that to become an itinerant minister. And he's gone to Pakistan, and he's seen many countries in Latin America. He's seen great, great miracles. And one of the things in the sharing I'd like for you to just talk about, I've already mentioned it in the school we had before the conference started, about the glory places and what happened in them. But tell your story, because I'm praying, and if you'll join me tomorrow, there's a man we're going to pray for that has the same condition you had.
Yeah, I had a rather interesting introduction to Dr. Clark. I was suffering from ALS. The meeting took place in September of 2014. I first started to feel symptoms in the beginning of 2013. By the time we got to the meeting, I probably should have been in a wheelchair, but I'm Dutch and very stubborn. And so I kind of had the old man shuffle, could kind of barely walk. I'd fall from time to time. I had trouble just getting my pants on. My wife would have to help me just getting my legs up or to have my arms up to shower. I was pretty close to being immobile. But I had never heard of Dr. Clark, but my mother-in-law had gone for a couple of days to a conference. She said, "He's going to be there. It's the last day he's going to be there for a healing service. You should go." And it was funny, we almost didn't, because when you're suffering that, you don't wake up in the morning feeling good, typically because you didn't sleep, because you feel horrible. And by the afternoon and evening, you're just wiped out. And I really didn't want to go. But at the last minute, we changed our mind. It was about a 40-minute drive up to Fresno. I live a little south of there. So we drove up to the meeting, got in late, kind of sat in the back, down right in the aisle. Worship was already going, and I didn't really have any grid for words of knowledge. I didn't have much of a grid for that. I grew up Baptist. It was a little different for me, to say the least. But it was so funny. I actually didn't walk in with a lot of faith for it either. But he called out the condition during the middle of your message. You stopped. And, well, I was really stubborn. I didn't want to stand up too. My wife kind of forced me into that one. She said, "As you." And so I stood up, and then when you released the prayer and just said, there's a handful of us that stood up, said, "Try and do what you couldn't do." thank God I was just dumb enough to listen and not think about it and overthink it, because I just thought simply, like, I couldn't raise my feet like that. That was like difficult. So I just thought I would just raise my feet up and see what happens. And so I went to kind of really put some force into it, because it took a lot to get your feet up. And like my foot like flew off the ground. And I'm like, what is going on here? So I was like, what? And then you're telling people try and do something else. All of a sudden I was like, all right, I'll just be dumb and try something else. So I just started jumping up and down, and I hadn't been able to do that in months. I never felt anything.
That's good.
No heat, no tingling, no electricity, nothing. I felt nothing, but literally, like, in the simplicity of just obeying, try something, it just hit. And it's so funny. I wanted to leave right when we got to the service, because I was in a lot of pain. I had atrophied a lot. My back hurt all the time. And I wanted to leave. And as I was jumping up and down, your brain takes a minute to kick in. I finally realized I had no more pain. The pain was gone as I was jumping up and down. I went home. Yeah, thank God. We were actually in the middle of moving out of my house into my in-laws, because we were preparing for my death. I suffered my in-laws for a while. It was okay. We got out soon. But I went home and cleaned my house till 5 o'clock in the morning that night, because I hadn't had energy like that. And it's been almost 11 years now, and obviously I'm just fine. Thank you, Jesus. Yeah. We were just talking, me and my friend were just talking about that outside as we were getting ready to come in. I was like, man, I should have been gone about 11 years ago.
Yeah, it's true.
And I'm still here. That was my introduction to this man. I'm so grateful for it.